To experience a Porsche 911 in the first person is a celebration of peculiar engineering and brilliant simplicity. Maybe it's the unique character, or just sheer athleticism. There's a reason Porsche owners are among the world's most loyal customers. Launched in 1964, the Porsche 911 hasn't changed much in nearly 50 years of production. The basic ingredients haven't changed: rear engine, 2+2 seating, and daily driver reliability. Bred to perform, the 911 has elegantly matured through the years into the current 997 model, though many limited models have been created throughout the evolution of the 911 brand. This car we're looking at is rather exclusive itself. Come with us today and experience the incredibly rare 1992 Porsche 911 Turbo S2. One of only 20 produced, this is one rare supercar.
This car left the factory in Stuttgart as one of only 20 turbo S2 models ever produced. So what is the S2 and why were only 20 produced? Well, I'm glad you asked. In the 1990s, the US-based IMSA Supercar series grew in popularity. Based on factory-produced vehicles, the IMSA race series hosted near-stock cars like the Chevrolet Corvette, the Acura NSX, Nissan 300ZX, Porsche 944 Turbo, and Lotus Esprit Turbo, just to name a few. After dominating the 1991 season, the factory-backed Porsche team was bent on defending their crown. Their desire to win raised the criteria necessary to protect their championship. IMSA's homologation rules required a production run of 20 road-going versions to qualify, and that's precisely the number Porsche built. For the S2 package, the window sticker reflects a $10,065 charge. The S2 upgrades included more aggressive camshafts, a larger turbocharger with larger and more efficient intercooler, and various hardware for these performance bits. Interestingly, a brake upgrade was not required, but a limited slip differential was added. Output is advertised at 322 horsepower and 354 foot-pounds of torque, increases of 7 and 22 respectively. Not so much of a value on paper, a brilliant automotive mind challenged these stats. Car and drivers Chubba Chetta, in a test of 100 to 150 miles an hour, the S2 is 8 seconds faster than the regular turbo. This would hold truth with other estimates that rate the car at roughly 375 horsepower. The race car and road car equivalent were required to share nearly all major mechanical components. In fact, to keep the race car close to stock, the air conditioner was even required to be left intact. The engine mechanicals and nearly all the electronics and engine management were required to be identical to the race and road versions. The S2 cars carried very little in the way of options, just like the one you see here. Don't get me wrong, the 911 Turbo comes standard with full leather interior, power moonroof, air conditioning, and even more. Factory options were limited to a set of floor mats, red interior piping, and a factory CD player. With the add of the larger turbo and taller gearing, the S2 is not as fast off the line as you'd think. The turbo lag's a little bit more pronounced when leaning in off the line, but once that turbo starts to howl around 3,500 RPMs, you better hang on and keep both hands on the wheel. It is a wild ride from that point forward. Taller gearing seems somewhat unnatural in this car, but with second gear good for nearly 80 miles an hour, power on the open road feels seemingly limitless. Now, Porsche did not offer the S2 as a factory slant nose, and that begins the second chapter of this story.
We'll take a minute to explain what a slant nose conversion is. Basically, what you have is a traditional front end of the 911, which you'll see right there, and a rare version of the car that comes from the factory is called a slant nose. Now, this is a slant nose conversion. Now, what that means is it did not leave the factory like this. It was converted to this. Now, however, the conversion can be done. There's actually a couple kits you can put on it. This is a full steel kit. Everything is to factory spec. But what really tells that story is actually getting under the hood and actually seeing how it was done. The hinges, everything looks like it was actually factory done on here. The biggest telltale sign, as you can see when these are taken off from the factory, it does break the paint seal around the bolts, but obviously that is not an issue here. We know it's been replaced. These are pop-up headlamps in the front, but the quality of this I really can't stress. It looks as if it's factory new. Even under the carpeting where the spare tire sits, everything again, it looks like it's a 1992 Porsche 911 Turbo. So we know everything up front's been converted. Something to take a focus on is the guard's red paint. Now you can see something like this, especially when something's been repainted, knowing this has been replaced, it would have to have been painted after the car was made at the factory, but the paint job is so spectacular. The side intake here on the quarter panel is actually added, as well as the slant nose conversion, but mechanically the car is unchanged. It does have a set of aftermarket wheels. Good, bad, or indifferent. You can love them, you can hate them, but the beautiful thing is when you take delivery of this car, you can put on whatever you like, and you actually have a set of center caps waiting for you.
What is truly important is that the car has not been involved in any previous accidents, and further inspection of both the front and rear ends confirms a clear history. Under the bonnet, the factory paint, welds, and structure are completely intact, and in the rear all welds are factory, and the bolts on the whale-tail spoiler have never been turned since it left the factory. All votes of confidence. On the quarter panels, the intakes were added, requiring a body alteration. The intakes are spec'd to the X85 1994 Turbo 36S Slant, which carried a $160,000 base price and of only 39 were produced. The intakes look identical to factory, and the paint match is a result of painstaking craftsmanship.
Out back here you've got the 3.3 liter flat six that's carrying a single turbocharger with it. Now in stock tune this is 315 horsepower. Now this turbo actually is an S2 specific trim. There were only 20 of the S2 models made in 1992, and basically what that does, aside from other things, it boosts the horsepower to 322 and the torque to a 354 number. But really a stock car, a very smooth car. We put a few miles on it driving it, but we will take it for a spin and at least show you that the car is still going to do what it was built at the factory to do.
At the first time I got behind the wheel of the car, I wasn't necessarily sold that this was a terribly great 911 turbo, meaning it just didn't feel very fast. But I also got to know the car a little bit more and realized that it was a race car. I'm in second gear right now, and you can see the car is geared so tall. I mean, you shift into third at almost 40 miles an hour, and you're turning 2,000 RPMs. It's just awesome. I mean, I really feel like I'm driving a piece of royalty here. And the more I've found out about this car and the time we've had with it, the more impressive it's been. I called Champion Porsche to talk with them about this car, and they had nothing but kind things to say. The gentleman I talked to in service actually knew the car for, since its inception, remembered the car from being brand new, which is pretty awesome because obviously those guys are very well in tune with the Porsche community.
One thing that's pretty neat about the Porsche 911 Turbo is that, we're cruising along, it's really comfy. Everything feels very conventional, but if you really want to get a hold of the power, we're going in fifth gear right now. We're going about 45 miles an hour. I'm going to go from fifth to second, at which point we can dip right into the turbos. Here we go. Feel the turbo! Whoa! Almost out of real estate, but obviously that spins up very, very healthy. What a hell of a car. And this is about as real of a vintage Porsche as you can get, meaning the 964 body replicates a driving experience you can't get with the newer body cars. The 997 tries to replicate this, but from the steering feel to the throttle linkage to where the pedals are placed, I mean, it's a one-of-a-kind car. It's a one-of-a-kind driving experience. Everything works great. The car's refined. Clutch feels great, takes up nicely. The car doesn't show as if it's ever been abused in its lifetime. Just shows as the showpiece in which it really is. So, very, very impressed, and I have to say I'm very thankful to have had a chance to experience this car because, once again, it's just something else to put some basis for comparison against.
Or here, first gear, I'm going to start out from idle. Because of its gearing, you really can't let the clutch all the way out until you get to about 10 miles an hour. Otherwise, you may stall it out. And then even second is really tall. And for whatever reason, it's raining, so I can't really do anything other than demonstrate the drivability of the car, which is great because it's still a 911. They're fine in the rain. Going to fourth gear. Fifth. Look at 60 miles an hour. You're not even turning 2,000 RPM. You're just under, really. Oil pressure's good. Oil level's good.
quiet, runs cool. This is not even heated up past half of the time we've had it, and I've opened it up here and there. I can almost guarantee you I'll never drive another one of these in my lifetime, which is why I'm relishing every second I get to spend with this one. It's spectacular and definitely an experience that I'd probably tell my grandkids about. Maybe not. This car hasn't traveled a lot of miles in the last few years, so just to be certain that the car is completely sound, we had the pros at Midwest Eurosport inspect the Turbo S2 and bring it up to date on maintenance. An O2 sensor was replaced along with the spark plugs. The all-important valve adjustment was completed and an oil and filter change was performed. Due to the performance nature of the car, we decided to have them swap the trans fluid as well. But other than that, the car checked out with a clean bill of health. Just something to note. This car is the personal car of CarSource USA's owner, and he's owned it since 1999. This is a historic Porsche, rich with a documented history confirming it as an exceptional Porsche. This is the sort of car that belongs in a collection, but its clean history and nearly new condition indicate a well-pampered life. The only favor I can ask of the person who buys it, take it out and drive it. It'll love you for it. Consider the magnitude of this car. What an opportunity. Thanks for spending time with us in this gorgeous 911 Turbo. For more information, including availability, check us out online at carsourceusa.com.